The cemetery walk. I'm glad that you guys could join us today. I'm going to be telling you the first story on your journey this afternoon. It's about John William Bill Griffin. Some folks called him Wild Bill. He was I agree. He was one of 13 children raised in Columbus Junction. For him, life was busy, loud, and you learned early how to stand your ground. When the war broke out in the Pacific, Bill made up his mind to go. His father, who served in the Navy during the First World War, wanted him to do the same. Instead, Bill went to Muscatine and he joined the Marines. Turns out that he didn't know much about the world he was stepping into. He served in a tank division of the Marines and saw the Pacific the hard way, including Iwo Jima. It might sound like something out of a history book to you, but to Bill, it was noise, smoke, and the kind of fear that settles deep in your bones. Bill made it back home. A lot of others didn't. And that's something you carry with you, whether you want to or not. He remembers one night in Iwo Jima. Cloudy, dark. The Marines had taken a few pillboxes, and the men had gotten it into their heads that they wanted to sit in one for their midnight. So they drew straws to see who would go fetch the water. And Bill drew the short straw. Getting there was relatively easy. Coming back wasn't. As he was walking, the clouds parted, allowing the moon to shine through and reflect off of the one of canteens he carried. That's all it took. A sniper saw it and fired, and the bullet caught Bill in the back. One of his fellow tank men pulled him to safety, and they got him to a medic, where Bill told them, "Just stitch me up, I'm going back." Because he'd seen what happened to foot soldiers on the island. They didn't last long, and he wasn't about to lose a seat in a tank. War has a way of sharpening your priorities that way. Years later, after he was gone and his wife had passed, his daughter received a call from a man named Joe Marcino, someone Bill had served with. And Joe told her another story. Joe's tank had been hit, disabled and burning, everyone inside gone except him. He was trapped and calling for help. There's an escape hatch underneath the tank, but he knew that he couldn't get out in time. So Bill told him to dig. Dig a trench and crawl. And then Bill drove his own tank forward, pushed the burning tank out of the way, and pulled his tank over Joe so that they could open the hatch and pull him to safety. Joe told Bill's daughter, "I'm sitting here today with my family, my kids, my grandkids, and my great-grandkids because of your dad." Funny thing is, Bill didn't know in the moment how much that was going to matter. After Iwo Jima, he went back to Honolulu. And 19 days later, they dropped the bomb on Nagasaki. And then they sent Bill there. Guard duty, they called it. He remembers standing there looking around thinking, guard what? There was nothing left. Miles of charred rubble, silence where there used to be a city. They spent 45 days there, walking through it, breathing it in. And he carried that with him for the rest of his life. His health started slipping after he came home. Skin problems that never went away. Back then, no one knew much about the effect of radiation, especially not on men like Bill. So, he built a life. He married his wife, Mary. He worked as a welder and a riveter. And he raised 3 children, John Jr., Patrick, and Tamara. And for a while, life seemed good. Then, in 1969, his son Patrick, just 8 years old, died of leukemia. The doctor said there was no proof, no evidence tying it to what he'd been through at Nagasaki. But Bill didn't need proof to feel the way he felt. And he said it plain. The United States government knew what they were sending us into. We were used as radioactive guinea pigs. And he asked the question that no one could answer. What do you charge for the life of a little boy? Now, you might expect that he'd turn bitter after that. But his family will tell you that that wasn't true. He still laughed. He still joked. In fact, he hung a sign right by the front door that said, "Danger, atomic radiation veteran." It gave folks a chuckle, made him laugh too. Because the truth is, Bill believed those bombs were terrible, no question about it. But he also believed that they ended the war faster and maybe saved lives in the long run. War doesn't give you clean answers, only the ones you can live with. And Bill lived with his answers until he was 74 years old. But before he was gone, he got a letter all the way from California that said, "Dear Golden Poet, we are honored to recognize your poem, Marines." Imagine that. A Marine, a tank man, a welder, a riveter, a small town kid called Wild Bill, and now a poet. It's funny how life turns out. So, as you walk through this cemetery looking for stories, I want you to remember, take care of each other. Because that's what really matters in the end.